Today you'll see a staple skirt that's got an A-line shape. It's got really nice shaping and lots of fun techniques. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have a skirt to share with you. It's designed for woven fabrics and it can be a real staple in your wardrobe. I think an A-line shaped skirt suits a lot of people. I think it's a style of skirt that everyone should have. And this is a brand new pattern from Itch to Stitch called Taroko skirt. It's a woven style for bottom weight fabrics. It's got an A-line shape, and at the front you have a side front and a center front. In between those panels you have pockets that are sewn into those seams, which makes them super easy to sew. When you see them, I think they look harder than they are, but they are so easy. You have a fly front zipper, that's how you get in. There's a center front seam, and at the back you have a center back seam and back patch pockets. There are some darts at the back as well for shaping. The waistband is meant to be at the natural waist, and it's a nice curved waistband. It's not a rectangle, and the fit at the waist is supposed to be fitted like a normal skirt. You have some room at the hips because it's A-lined, and it's designed to hit at the knee or slightly above the knee depending on your height. And as option, you can put on belt loops if you want. If you're going to tuck in and wear a belt, that's an option. I'm not doing that because I don't tuck in. Because the Taroko skirt is a brand new pattern, it's 20% off through next Monday, the 8th of May. If you like the style and want to get the pattern for yourself, you can find my affiliate link down below. I make the disclosure every time. I do make a small commission if you purchase your patterns through there, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it just supports the work that I do here on YouTube. I always give back to you because I do film a lot of the sewing. If you like the visuals, you can really get a good idea of how easy it is to put this together. Because the Taroko skirt is a brand new pattern, it's 20% off through Wednesday the 10th of May. If you like the style and want to get the pattern for yourself, you can find my affiliate link down below. I make the disclosure every time. I do make a small commission if you purchase your patterns through there, but it doesn't cost you anything extra, and it just supports the work that I do here on YouTube. I always give back to you because I do film a lot of the sewing. If you like the visuals, you can really get a good idea of how easy it is to put this together. You need bottom weight fabric for this with no stretch. Perfect fabrics would be denim, a cotton twill, maybe a velvet that doesn't stretch. In that case, you'd have to place all your pieces in the same direction so you don't end up with different looks, you know, with a nap going on there. You could use corduroy, which would be the same situation. Some heavier linen I think would be great. And in my case, I'm using a Rayon linen blend that is a bottom weight, it's medium weight fabric, and it's got some rayon in there. It will just have that softer appearance while keeping the A-line shape. And that's sort of an aesthetic I strive for. I think I like that a lot. So that's up to you. The more structured the fabric, the more A-line shape will be visible. You need some fusible interfacing because the waistband is interfaced as well as the top of the pocket, same as the fly front extension, so you do need a bit of that, and you also need a zipper. The design lends itself well to a lot of top stitching if that's what you want, and if you really want it to be seen and be contrasting, you could use top stitching thread. In my case, I just want my look really demure. I find that when you match your top stitching to the main fabric, I think it's easier to dress up a garment like this that's a staple, that's casual, if you keep the top stitching in the same tone. And because I didn't have green top stitching thread, I just used the same thread that I was using to construct my garment, which is perfectly fine as well. Sizes 00 to 40 US are available, and it will go up to a hip of 62 inches. The curved waistband hits the natural waist, so that's where you need to measure to check against the body measurements chart. And then when you look at the finished garment measurements, you'll see that the waist has about ½ inch of ease, which is appropriate for a style like this. You know, that ½ inch of ease is going to be okay. Remember, when you wear your fibers over time with the heat of your body, they do tend to relax a little bit. You do need it to be fitted like that. And because you have an A-line shape and it's not a straight fitted pencil skirt, you have about 3 inches of extra space around the hips, which is perfectly fine. If you have a different size waist and hips, I suggest you blend sizes. So if your hips are a size larger than your waist, I would suggest you make that change on the pattern and not just hope for the best and hope that your hips are going to fit in there, because I think you do need that 3 inches of ease for an A-line shape. A-line shapes flare out, and if you have really fitted hips and then you have that little bit of flaring out on the sides, it does look a little strange. If you want to blend sizes, you would have to also incorporate the front pocket because that is part of the side seam as well. I would overlay it where it has to go on the pattern piece. There's a little line there, and adjust including the pocket there so that everything matches up in the end. The only fitting adjustments I made was blend between sizes. Like I was saying, I needed a 14 waist to have a nice fitted waist and then go out to a 16 hip. There is a shorten and lengthen line down below, and I added 1.5 inches there and just blended my lines back on the sides. If I didn't add that extra length, I would have ended up with a skirt that's a little bit short, but that's normal for me. I'm just a little bit taller. I think length is always something that you can adjust to your preference. As for the sewing, I have filmed quite a bit for you to see. I have not included how to sew the fly front zipper. It's to stitch always includes the same sewing technique, and I already have a full video showing you the way that I like to do it. It's the way I do all the zippers, and it's so easy. The fact that the skirt already has the fly front extension there on the pattern piece means that the technique is already easier. This is the thumbnail of my video. You can see how to do it there. It's so easy, and I did it the exact same way. So I'm focusing on other aspects of the skirt, general construction, the curved waistband, all the pockets, stay stitching, cutting, all that fun stuff, so you can see some visuals and how easy this comes together. This is a type of zipper that has a fly extension on the center of the pattern piece already, so that's a shape there. And you have this separate piece for interfacing, so I just put this along there, drew a line, that's the outline of the interfacing, and then marked it with tracing wheel down there. I still haven't trimmed that away. I wanted to block fuse, so I still have a little bit to trim off. Cutting it afterwards just means I know it's going to have the original length and shape here, nothing has changed while putting that interfacing on. So that's for this. On the other side, I also had a little faint mark where I knew where to place this. This is the pocket that is in between the panels, and it's got this slanted shape. This shape has been trued like this, and I also cut it around here slightly larger, marked where it needed to be interfaced with a tracing paper, and I have my piece of interfacing to fuse on there. Now that that's interfaced right along that line, I know I can go and trim away that excess, and that's modified block fusing for this pocket. On the table, I have all the pieces that have already been interfaced. You can see they're all larger than the pieces. Now it's just about trimming away, and the pieces have already been interfaced. Here are all the pieces for the skirt. There are 3 main pieces that will be for the actual skirt. That is the back. There is a center back seam right there. I have already put it through the serger and sewn it with my sewing machine, so that's done. There are little waist studs there, and here are the back patch pockets for it. I've already got the top part of the pocket interfaced, and the front has 2 pieces. This is the center piece. That's where you're going to have the zipper, and the fly extension has already been interfaced. This pocket is going to go sewn onto there with that angle going down like that, so the taller end is going to be touching the center piece, and the slanted edge going down is going to be in the side seam. This is the shield for the fly, and here are the curved waistband pieces. The one interfaced is cut out of the same main fabric, and I'm using a contrast cotton to go on the inside. I'm quickly just going to stay stitch all the edges of the waist area. So there's several pieces, all the top edges within the seam allowance. Seam allowance is 1/2 inch, so I'm doing this at around 3/8. This linen rayon blend is sort of a loose weave, and it does have the potential of stretching out, and I really want it to match my waistband later. After stay stitching the waist, the following steps all have to do with getting that zipper in. With a skirt, it's so much easier. I find that when you have a crotch right there, I already have a video showing you how to do that in the exact technique. I'm going to do it now. On the pattern up here, you'll find a little mark and you'll find the dot. So all I did was mark that with chalk. I'm going to sew that with a long stitch length, and on this dot I'm going to reinforce and then continue down with the regular stitch length, and then I'll be able to continue doing my zipper. I'm not going to be snipping into anything. Before doing all of this, I serged all these edges previously, so that means I don't have to snip into anything. Later on, I'll just push all the seam allowance to one side and it'll be fine, and that's what I'm going to continue next. And when I've done with the zipper, I'll come back and show you how to put all the rest together. These are the pockets that are going to go on the side front panels, and the top was already interfaced. It's got that shape that follows this shape when you fold it in. So I have already pressed that down. I have already pressed the bottom edge up by 1/2 inch. These are just left normal. These aren't going to be caught in the seams. So all we want to do now is top stitch that down here on the top. Here we have the side front panels. Now I had marked these on the wrong side of the fabric, that's where they marked on the pattern, but I didn't want to risk my marks not coming out on the right side, so I've just marked everything with a thread. And the tallest bit here, the closest one to the edge of the waist, that's going to be sewn to the center right here. The lower end, from here down, that's going to be the side seam. So this one's going to go right there against my thread marking, and this one's going to go right here against this other side. This is so easy. All we need to do now is top stitch the bottom end. I'm going to be doing 2 rows, and then these are just going to be basted along stitch length just to hold them in place. First, I'm basting the sides of these pockets just using a long stitch length and doing that on both sides. And then to top stitch at the bottom, I want 2 rows, so I'm doing the edge stitching with a blind hem pressed foot with a needle to the left. That gives you a really nice neat result. And the second row is just using the 1/4 inch presser foot. Super easy. Here are the side front pieces. The pockets are already basted on the sides, sewn on the bottom edges. Center front seam has been done. The zipper is already done. This has been top stitched in a double row, the same as every other place I'm going to top stitch down there. So all we need to do now is put these side panels like this there. You're going to have some notches to match here and right there. So it's just 2 seams there and there. These seams are pretty straight. I'm just cleaning them up with a serger first. I find it easy that way. And then I head over to my sewing machine and sew. Seam allowance is 1/2 inch. There is a slanted pocket opening. This is the side seam right there. The seam allowance is to go to the center for both of these. And now I'm just going to top stitch double row, first using my blind hem presser foot on the edge all the way down, and then going back up and doing the second row with my 1/4 inch presser foot. This is the back of the skirt. It's super easy. I have already sewn that center back seam, been serged also. I have already top stitched that seam allowance down with the 2 rows I'm using everywhere. And now I've just pinned the darts. Now I've just pinned those waist darts. You can see the pocket marks there. I am also going to transfer them and just mark them with thread so it's easily seen from this other side. I like to sew my darts from the dart point to the widest part. I know some people do it the opposite way. I just find it easier to get a really clean entrance into the fabric with the needle right there. I also don't back tack when I start sewing. I just start, leave some thread, and I just do a knot. These are the back patch pockets. They have this shape. I have a sneaky seam in the center so I can get them from my fabric, so ignore that. This is the top that's been interfaced. I've already pressed that down. And you're supposed to press all of these seams in by 1/2 inch. I've pressed them in already. And to finish this, you're supposed to just fold these right sides together here along the top and just sew that down on that area and flip it to the other side. So you just flip and it gives you a really clean edge on this area here. So I've got my little mark with the thread, and then this will just go right there. I'm going to place it there, hand baste it, and then top stitch it. That's the back all done, and now I've got the front done, and it's just matching up the side seams, sewing and serging those, and then going to the waistband. I've been working on this curved waistband, and I have the main waistband here. I've already pressed up 1/2 inch from the edge. I did that with a guide stitch and then went over to iron. I have already removed that guide stitch, so there's nothing there, and I have my memory crease. Now I'm doing it like this because I'm going to sew mine in reverse. If you want to sew your waistband traditionally, then you could press up the non-interfaced layer and have this one extended. But this is the way I like to sew my waistbands. And I have my 2 waistbands right sides together. This is going to be the one inside. It's just a quilting cotton. It's not interfaced. Only the main waistband is interfaced. And there is a center back seam. I've got them matching there with a pin. And now on this other side, what I have here pinned along the curved edge on the top is just selvage from cotton. It's really stable. It's less bulky than twill tape. I prefer doing this. And I've done this to stabilize waistbands in the past, especially when it's super curved. There's bias right here, so this could end up stretching out and deforming over time. On the pattern instructions, you'll see sewing in a 1/4 inch elastic into the seam right there. I just don't have the appropriate elastic for that. My 1/4 inch elastic is extremely flimsy. My clear elastic is just way too stiff. So I'm just doing this alternative, which is also a legit technique to stabilize waistbands. So I've got it further away from the edge, and when I sew this at 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'll be catching that selvage. Okay, so there's the selvage caught into the seam, and now I'm just going to trim the seam allowance. It's 1/2 inch here, and it could be less, so I'm just going to cut some away. And because it's curved, I'll be snipping into the curve as well to the seam allowance. Now I'm going to extend this and sew on the edge, understitch that inner waistband so it's not seen. So just pushing the seam allowance under the inner waistband, in my case the contrast one, I'll just sew on the edge with my blind hem presser foot. I've got my waistband pinned on. This is my inner waistband, and I've got it right side to wrong side of the skirt, and this is the center back, and then I've just pinned all the way. On each end I have 1/2 inch protruding. I have to point out one thing about these waistbands, and I thought I'd filmed it but I didn't, but actually you have 1/2 inch protruding here where the zipper shield is, but on the right wearer's side, on the other side where you have the top stitching of the zipper visible on the outside, in that area you're going to have much more excess, and you're going to have to trim some away and just leave the 1/2 inch protruding. And you've seen me sew waistbands before. All I'm going to do is sew that, and then this is the right side of the skirt, and the waistband's going to come over, cover that seam, and then I'll be able to top stitch on the visible part, and I don't have to worry about catching that because that's already been sewn. In this area, once I've got it sewn, it's just about putting them right sides together and sewing this flush and then flipping it. Okay, so here are the ends. I've just put them right sides together. The both folds are there. The main one I've left a tiny bit longer just so I know it's going to cover the seam, and then that's just sewn at 1/2 inch. Right flush against there. So I'm going to cut some of this away to reduce bulk. I'm going to fold the seam allowance towards the non-interfaced waistband right there, fold it onto each other, and then just flip. And then this waistband's going to come over to the front. I'll just tidy it up, hand baste it, and then top stitch. Here is my Taroko skirt. I really love this fabric. I had just enough left over after making a jacket, and I knew eventually it was going to become a skirt. And perfect timing, so I'll have a set that you'll see later. And I didn't have enough to cut the inner waistband. That's why you see I've got a contrast cotton in there. I never think it's wrong or bad to do that if you want to save some fabric, or even if you just want that softer feel inside and something personalized. You know, I have my label in there as well, which I think is really cool. This is the waistband. Now, one thing I mentioned in the tutorial and something I wanted to repeat again, on this side of the waistband, when you're pinning everything on, so you start pinning from the center back, going all the way here, the layer that's underneath where the zipper shield is, you're going to have 1/2 inch protruding. But when you get around to this side, the layer that goes on top, you have a little bit more left over. So that you have to trim over to have 1/2 inch protruding so you can do your waistband technique right there. Sometimes I'm filming and I'm talking, and then when I turn the camera off, I actually turned it on, which meant I wasn't filming. That's what happened in this little section right there. Here are the front panels, center front, side front, and in between there you see that you have that pocket. So it's only sewn at the bottom. On the sides it's caught in the seams, and the top of the pocket is folded in and top stitched. This is the area that's interfaced, and you have a nice little pocket right there. These pockets for me are always decoration. I do like the look of them. I like the top stitching, all of that thing. I'll pose with my hand in there, but I will never use them. Like, I won't put stuff in these pockets. And at the back, you have the center back seam. You have some darts right there at the back. And I did do a seam there on my pocket just so I could get my pockets out of the amount of fabric I had left. And I matched that seam with the dart right there. You can see the top stitching is really discreet. It's the exact same thread I was using for everything. And the zipper technique right there. So easy, so fast. If I had to time myself on how much it actually takes me to do, it'll be around 3 or 4 minutes. It's that fast. Once you do it over and over, it's so easy. Under the zipper, there is a center front seam that's top stitched. And let me show you inside. Here it is inside, the pretty inner waistband. I think is nice to look at and also very soft on the skin, 100% cotton, quilting cotton. Here is the zipper shield that covers everything up. And then all the seams, the top stitch to the center right there. Sides, I've just pressed them towards the back. Matching serger thread, which always makes me super happy. Hem allowance is a nice amount, which I think is important in a skirt like this. Bottom weight fabric, you don't really want a tiny hem allowance. It doesn't look very nice, it doesn't hang properly. So I think this amount of hem allowance is just perfect. It's also the reason why you don't want to just add here and change it from the bottom. You lose the shape there and how the hem has been trued because it's flared out. So whatever changes of length you make, it has to be above right there. I've styled it 2 ways, one with a top, one with a jacket. As I mentioned, I do have a set because I have the same fabric. This is my Taroko skirt from Easy to Stitch. I made a size 14 waist, blended out to a 16 hip. I had to add 1.5 inches of length to the skirt to get it to hit above the knee, otherwise it would have been too short. The waistband is curved and it fits really comfortably around the waist, nice and fitted, but not extremely fitted. There you can see my fly zipper. It's super easy technique to sew, and the patch pockets on the front that are in between the panels on the front, so super easy to sew pocket. At the back there's a center back seam and patch pockets. I like the shape of those pockets. They're not the typical pockets. I do have a sneaky seam in the middle of my back patch pockets. Fabric saving techniques. And I use this really nice green rayon linen blend, 70% rayon, 30% linen. That's why you see some drape going on. And I do like the soft look when there's an A-line skirt. I think it's a staple, and I've got it paired here with one of my Averse tops from Each to Stitch. Really drapey type of situation there with a lot of colors and some green. I really like this skirt. I know I'm gonna wear it a lot. It's extremely comfortable. Here is the same Taroko skirt from Each to Stitch. I made a size 14 waist, blended out to a 16 hip, and I actually had this little bit left over after making the jacket that you're seeing here. This is my smitten jacket. I've already shared it on the channel. So this is like a little set. I think both styles are casual and I can dress them up if I want to. Super basic styling here, just a black cami and a colorful scarf, and I know I'm going to enjoy wearing this together. I can style the same outfit more for winter as well. Just depends on the type of footwear and what I put underneath the jacket. I'm usually not that matchy-matchy, but I think these two styles that are more casual go together really well, and I'm glad I had enough fabric left over from the jacket, just enough to be able to make this skirt. Actually, that's why the inner waistband has a contrast fabric, because I could only cut out the outer waistband from the main fabric. Love this outfit. I think having sets is always so practical. It just makes it so much easier for you to get dressed, because the set in itself is already an outfit, and then whatever you put underneath can be really simple. And so I'm gutted I wasn't able to make another one. I love it. And back in 2021, I made a jacket also from Each to Stitch called Poas. This beautiful sort of plum color, love it. I've also saved a piece of fabric thinking that's going to be a skirt someday, and I wanted to make that, but I ran out of time. So hopefully I'll get to have that set someday, so I can have another matchy option in my wardrobe, which is always welcome. And that's why I buy yardage of this type of linen, because eventually I want to have a jacket, pants and a skirt that I can sort of mix and match. I think that's really practical. Don't forget that the Taroko skirt is 20% off through next Wednesday, the 10th of May. Find my affiliate link down below. I think this style is amazing because you can wear this style all year round, just depends on your fabric choice. If you wanted this for cooler weather, you can make it out of corduroy and wear tights and boots underneath. I think it's a really nice style. And the one that I have that's made out of a linen rayon blend, for my weather, it's basically perfect for the whole year, or it could just be perfect for hot weather as well. I think it's a staple. It's really nice, it fits amazing, super comfy, and I really enjoyed making mine. That's all from me, and I'll see you back on this channel with more sewing very soon. Bye!